What's up guys, Flo here. Today I'm going to be showing you which smoke agent you should be playing on the new map Lotus. I actually did a lot of the research for this video with you guys on stream. So if you ever want to be part of the decision making process, make sure you follow me on Twitch or subscribe on YouTube to see when I'm live. Without further ado, let's hop into the video. Alright, so the first thing we're going to do is going to judge depending on the side we're starting on. So we're going to start with defenders, then moving over to the attacking side. On the defending side for Brimstone, you normally want to be looking for places where your molly can gain value, since that essentially makes up most of his defending utility besides his smokes. The stim beacon is mostly just for one-on-ones, and his smokes aren't really that special from others besides the fact that they deploy very fast. He has a range he also needs to worry about, and that's also something we want to put into play to determine whether he's going to be a good pick for this map. So we're starting with the A side on the defense side. This door is a contention point, as well as this area. I could see molly being a pretty solid way of defending this, making it kind of awkward for them to push, and then working with your team to take this space, along with some level of smoke for the deep point. And then that way you guys could take the space, making it really hard for attackers to kind of fight for. I think you'll probably need multiple players here, even if you're doing this, even though you have the utility, just because this is a high contention point that attackers need to deal with, and they're not going to want to give this for free. So let's keep backing up. How would I defend A site? We're going to talk about, there's this choke right here, and in that case it would just be a smoke. What would be the position I would want to play? Well, usually smoke players are anchors. It would probably be in between this, so I can focus on fighting this side as well as fighting this side. Smokes don't work so well for these doors. The door almost provides cover depending which side you're pushing. So if I was pushing it this side, then I could use the door as cover to swing out. On the A site, I think he's an okay choice. For the B site, he's also not bad. You can smoke out pretty much all the main choke points and just focus on the site. You see all these smokes since he has 3, and then you can get onto the spike. Also, his ult is really solid for clearing site just because it's so large. If you know they're in this A link area, you could probably guarantee a kill just by ulting it, or just ult site to allow you to retake faster. So I think it's not bad. It's pretty solid. Probably one of the stronger agents for retaking. Now if you're playing C, I think this smoke is probably just going to be the one you're going to put down a lot, and then when they're coming through, you just molly and then you just hold, whether from the on top or from the bottom. Either way, there's like a lot of positions you can hold. This is essentially where a smoke player shines, just because it's one small choke with one way to just stall the entire push and only one place you need to focus on. Not bad. I'm not seeing anything too stand out-ish about Brimstone, but let's move on to the attacking side. All right, so heading toward A, the first point of contention is coming out of here. The scary part is probably like a jet op or something like that, or a chamber op. When you swing out, you might just die. So there might be a chance where this smoke is just required so that you can fight more safely and clear this close angle and gain access to the door, allowing you to split as well as break this door to hit B. This is kind of one of Brimstone's shortcomings, which is he doesn't have rechargeable smokes. So in the case that you need to execute onto site, you don't particularly favor really using these smokes to take space, because unlike Omen, who gets almost 6 smokes in a round depending on how long the round lasts, Brimstone only has 3. So if you use one here, and you have to remember that pretty much every site on the map requires 2 smokes, then you'll realize that, hey, I kind of don't want to use any more smokes, and I am just rocking a molly and a stim beacon now until we site exit. This stair position will probably always want to be smoked to help you scale up, and then after this, you're going to want some level of a door split coming in, and then you'll pinch on the site. How does Brimstone support with this? It would just probably be this smoke and then the top heaven smoke. And if Brimstone really wants to get cheeky, I'm sure there is a lineup for drop that would greatly help you kind of just hold the site, because with this smoke, this is realistically like the only other safe area, and this cuts off rotates, so meaning that any defenders coming off will have to wait or jump through this smoke, which is super risky. So this way it'll stall rotates as well as get you onto site, and allow you to just clear out the entire site. Since Brimstone is also heavily known for lineups, I'm gonna say that on this entire map, lineups are very viable. If we just go up, you'll see that there's so much overhead space to toss lineups from anywhere. Back here, safe through this hole, and for this one it's a little bit harder, but you can actually probably just more directly do it. You can even do it like through here. So the most direct way to B is through this area. So the first point of contention is probably around here. The smokes that I would want to throw are for this C link and this B upper area. You could also use your third smoke for this if you really want to, and you could almost really easily guarantee this site, especially with something like a fade ult. It clears the entirety of the site, the smokes are up, you get the plant, then you play post plant. It's actually a pretty solid way of holding of getting to the site. You could also like substitute instead of the fade ult with a KO knife, and if it doesn't scan anybody, then you're completely fine. But besides that, the attack on C is pretty simple. It's going to be smoke here, which will cover the normal chokes. And then you probably want to throw a molly somewhere toward the elbow side so that no one can swing you as you're coming up. Otherwise, you could probably do something like this, and that would probably also cover a common spot that defenders are going to be playing to watch the cross. And then you can also play, obviously, post plant. This mound makes it super easy to do. And because you can like even sit here and you don't have to worry about it. Like I shoot a molly from here and there's no one that they would have to like swing out this wide to be able to stop me. Honestly, a more solid pick, but you won't really know until you compare it to the other agent. We also have to include that offers are going to be a part of the map. This offing spot makes it super annoying. So with Brimstone, you have to pretty much rely on somebody else helping you out here because you can't just peek this. You will die. For A, it'll probably be like this. We went over a default smoke that could possibly block it. It is kind of a sad choice for Brim because he only has 3 smokes, but it is still plenty viable. As for a defender getting aggressive and then dashing back as Jet, that's still something you're going to probably need to find. So I'm still thinking that a flash like through this is probably still the best choice. Breach probably is going to be played on this map. All right, so now on to Viper. We're on the defense side of Viper. What are Vipers looking for in a Viper map? Well, the main thing as Viper is you're generally looking for your wall to be dual purpose and not just have one tiny choke that you're trying to block off. So the best wall that I found was one from B. And basically you could come into this corner and wall this way. This covers this deep onto a main and then also covers the door. You could also do it the other way around. It doesn't really matter. This way that even if they open the door, it will not be an easy push for them. You could put the wall up. You can still hold it very aggressively. The only issue is holding A long or A main is kind of hard from this. This does almost guarantee you get the orb every round though. The thing is, it's hard to hold this wall just because it's such a wide angle and the defenders realistically have like this place to play, which is basically a one and done. You get a kill, you're probably dead after this. They have this place to play. And they have this place to play, which is going to be super common and can even be smoked out. So in this case, like if they just ran through a main, you would probably find a hard time holding this. The other safer one that you could do is you have a wall like this. Now I know this doesn't cover 2 sites, but it does make holding A specifically a lot easier. And then you would have a lineup to get on top of the door. And this way you can play aggressively for a door. Your other player can watch it for the main area. And then if they do come out, if they're coming door, then you could always pop the one way, and then that way you can like not need to focus. Even if they open it, like you can divert your attention to the more important area until like you can see them out of your peripheral, and then you can flick because they're going to be stuck in a one way, or they're probably just not going to push. The other thing is to use the wall to kind of push to like hold off so that your teammate can hold more aggressively for when they run through here, and you can also do that and only pop the orb when the door makes noise. As for B, I don't really see a good way at defending B. There doesn't seem like a super good wall that you can use that would help both B and C. The one towards C doesn't really work that well. It does create a cross here, but it doesn't really work well in the post plant since they could still be hiding. And it just doesn't seem that strong because you can just cover C with a regular orb. There's also a one way you could kind of do by throwing it on this ledge and then playing on top. And then now you can see all the players down, like beat from the, here. And if we were to go over to their side, they see absolutely nothing. I think C is just going to be an auto include for pretty much every single controller, so I don't think that there's anything you really need to worry about for this one. This one's just really good. Now let's go to the attack side. Viper on attack is probably just going to be focused around lineups. I think this is the only reason you would really want to play Viper, just because of all the open skyboxes. So in that case, we're thinking of how can you help your team get onto site to be able to plant. And so far for the A wall, this is the best thing I could come up with, which is a diagonal wall from here, being able to cover this link, but this does leave a gap, which kind of makes it a little awkward, but it does also pretty flushly cover heaven, which is probably the more scary place. See that this is the one issue with Viper, which is you sometimes can't get perfect utility and there will be gaps every single time, which I really don't like, especially in a ranked aspect where people aren't going to recognize that there are gaps. This could cost your team rounds. Then after that, you'd probably plant somewhere like here and then go and play post plant. With B site, it's a little bit more awkward because the 2 areas you would want to have smoked is upper and this C link area. And the only way you can really do this is from here. Now, this seems like it'll be fine. It's like, yeah, just do it from there. But the one issue is that if you do it from here, you have no way of real easily getting back to B to be able to help your teammates. Now, while you're doing this, you also kind of can die to any A players that decide to flank, and you're going to be putting up your wall. And you could say, oh, just break the door. Well, yes, if you break the door, it just also allows for another avenue where defenders can come and retake. And you have to then be posted on the area, and they also know that you're here. So there is that one small issue. If you can get it so that you're here late, for example, and there's like mid-round and your teammates are planting B, and you throw up this wall and you stay here, and you think that the A player just rotates back to spawn, this actually becomes a very strong angle because there's nobody in this area, and you can just continually molly with the guaranteed assurance that no one can kill you because this door is closed, even if they're on site, and then you can just play lineups until you win. Attacking C is probably the most awkward part about this entire thing. There's no real good way to do it. This seems like the best option, but one, this is a terrible place to want to throw your wall from. You can get peeked from here, anyone up here, and you have to basically make sure that someone's holding you while you're putting up the wall. Also, the wall in general is not that great. If you look at it, there's a big ass gap back here, and there's kind of gaps here, and it's just not that good. You don't really want to wall closer because you want to take as much of sight as possible. So C site seems like a really bad choice for Viper. I'm sure someone can come up with a lineup that can like better suit it. For most people, this isn't very face value, so therefore it's like, why would I need to learn this when there's better options? So do I think Viper can be playable on this map? Yes. Do I think she's going to be optimal? Not really. I can definitely see it in a double controller comp, but Viper works there almost all the time as double controller. All right, now we are on to our girl Astra, and I'm going to start by prefacing, generally Astra does not do well on 3-site maps, just in theory alone. Like if you think about it, you have 3 sites, that's 3 more locations that on the defense, you're going to need to smoke. So on the defense, she's going to find it that she's going to lack utility. She only has 4 stars now. Maybe you could get away with it more when you have 5 stars. But now with 4, you're going to find that you're going to super stretched on what you need to cover. She does have global presence, which is the best out of all the agents in terms of how far you can put your utility. But with the lack of it, that's definitely an issue, since smokes on their own don't necessarily do enough, especially if a rush is coming in and you need that follow-up utility a lot of the time. So if we're thinking about it, what is Astra's strongest combo, or how does she defend sites? It's usually a smoke with a pole behind it. That way when they run through, they run into the pole, you get the kill, yada yada yada. This is like the best place to do it. There's no other place. And in terms of the smoke, you can smoke the door, but it's the same as the Brim issue where it doesn't actually provide much. They can still get into it, they can still hold it, even if they could just open the door and then hide in your smoke. Like, you'll see that there's so many things that they could be doing. They could just wait. Imagine on this side it's smoked, you just run in and you just sit here, the door closes, but you have all the freedom to just sit here for as long as possible while your teammates are execing up into A main, and this Astra that's stuck here is now worried about this when you already lurk through. So like there's a lot of issues with this smoke where it doesn't really do anything. You kind of just have to fight it. As for B, normally just smoke this out. You can smoke a little bit deeper if you really want to. Not that anyone else could. You could also toss a star here for the pole, but this also like just doesn't work that well. If Astra is going to be played on this map, it will be a C site hold, just because she's super strong here. This is actually the perfect place to play Astra. You have a smoke deep, and then when they run out, you pull, and this is the worst place to get pulled because you're gonna get killed from here, up here, over there, all around, right? So this is like the perfect example of an area where you would want to play Astra. All right, now on the attacking side, we're gonna run through A. Astra does actually have a way to really counter the Opera that you're worried about, and that's just to pull back a star. Similar to how Pearl, you can do that. You can use it to cross out here. This is actually pretty strong, since this doesn't cost anything for Astra to really do, and it gains you this map presence where they can't really spot you cross, and they have to deal with now a further angle, gaining you this space like more freely than pretty much every single other agent. Now, as you're hitting site, what are you going to want to smoke? You probably want to smoke here and here. This lets you cross up and fight toward this way, the first area of conflict, without needing to worry about getting shot from the side of the head. And then you obviously have one for heaven so that you can scale out. In terms of attacking B, it's also not bad. You're going to smoke the 2 normal areas that would want to be smoked. And then this one's going to be a little bit harder to deal with. There's not much you can really do here, but you just have to fight this normally. B is kind of meh. You might think that, oh, because there's a door here, no one would play here. That's actually incorrect. Because there's a door here, someone will play here, because they can just stay upholded. They don't have to have their back be scared of anything, because this door will signify if someone's attacking, and they'll get the kill, and if they need to get out, they'll break the door and leave. So the Opera that we were mentioning at C, you also have the ability to counter her, just a simple smoke pullback, and you can get behind the mound, you can kill him, maybe catch him off guard. But either way, using a smoke pullback is one of the best ways to really freely counter an op, because you don't use the smoke. The smoke doesn't work against you, because a random smoke here is kind of bad, especially if it's just like there forever. Sometimes getting past the initial sight line is really the perfect time. Is all you really need. Attacking C is pretty normal, same as Brimstone. You can have the set smokes. Your executes will also be pretty strong, because C is such a claustrophobic site. If you put a pull there, and we'll say like a stun there, these are probably likely the two places where people will play the most, just because of the cover. Then you can get onto site pretty easily without having to worry about anything. Overall, Astra is a decent agent. I think what you're gonna find is that she lacks on the defense, where her pull and suck combo doesn't work as well unless you have her on the C site. So if she's going to be played on this map, she is going to be played as a C site anchor, and yeah, that's about it. Now moving on to the newest controller in Valorant, that is Harbor. Now Harbor is a hard one because there hasn't been much play of him so far. So his playstyle is kind of wonky and it doesn't really seem to be standard. So let's kind of go into it. One of Harbor's major weaknesses is that he is unable to help his teammates if they are far away. The farthest I could reach from this end is I can't even smoke B. Now the advantage you get in comparison to Viper is the fact that you can curve walls. So all those like awkward walls where I said, oh, you couldn't really get it proper, so this one is much better because you can actually curve it to how you need it, which does give it a little bit. But I will also have to say that like I'm obviously not super great at Harbor, especially since he's just not played, but it's also just in general kind of hard to control the wall. So me like missing that, it's hard to be consistent, especially that curve. Like it's like two pretty quick turns where you have to get it to be horizontal here, and then you have to curve it to the left so that it hits this perfectly. So on the defense, the only way I can really see Harbor being played is if you play him like a duelist. This is because he doesn't really have set trap plays that he can work off very easily. You can kind of hold the wall for as much as possible because it slows them, but also you can just toss a wall and then you can kind of drop it where you need to and just hold the wall at that point. Since it applies a slow effect, that is the essential thing that you are trying to play around, hoping that they need to walk through your slow and give you an easy headshot when they come through. The playstyle for A isn't very blatant here. It doesn't seem like there's much way to defend besides like throwing up a wall like this. And it's like, okay, they're coming through. Okay, I can defend here. Or you can throw a wall like this, and then that way you can hold it like this if they run through. But like the issue with this is flashes can go through, stuff can come through. And in general, I still unfortunately think Harbor's not that great of an agent. Now we're gonna move on to the B site, and we're also gonna realize that like, okay, on retake, retake is kind of nice because you can curve it to be exactly what you need. If I wanted it to curve out back here and like also wall that off, I probably could. Not all agents can do that, but like if you think about Brimstone, he has 3 smokes, he could do that, and it would be way easier than this. Remember I said that you have to play aggressive, so you kind of want to thrive in the chaos. So if I were to come out and retake, then I would probably do something like that so that I can get shot from the side, I could clear just the left, and then I could drop down and clear everything else. That's probably how you would want to play it. It's just not a very stable play style, and it relies on a lot of teamwork to flood out with you, because if you're the only one doing this, like it's pretty, you still have a high chance of just dying when you come out. If you have teammates, at least they'll be able to trade, and they'll work off the wall that you gave them. In terms of C, I just don't see any benefit. Realistically, like how would you play Harbor here? I would probably play it like this. I'll just throw up a wall when they're coming out. That's the only thing I can realistically see. His wall, like you have to think about it, his wall doesn't get much value, and unlike Viper, who has an orb that you just put up and down and up and down, every one of Harbor's abilities, like minus the wall, is limited. So unless you're planning on doing your wall just for this tiny little bit to make sure that they don't push through, it's gonna feel like a waste. And that's also your longest, farthest range ability, so Then they also can flash through, push through, every normal thing that is an issue with a regular wall, like Viper wall, Phoenix wall, whatever. Yes, it applies a slow, but if you're blind, it doesn't matter. Now let's talk about the attack side. So the attack side is actually pretty solid. You kind of get this Astra-esque pullback, except you can be way more aggressive. Throwing a wall like this and then just hopping up behind it. And then you can like, look how far I got with just following up my wall and how fast I did that with. And then as I'm coming up, I could just throw an orb like this if I want to, or I could even just do the wall I was talking about. like that, and that should probably do around the same thing. That walls off heaven, and then you can fight. I could even do something like this as I'm pushing up onto site, and then like wall that off so that anyone here would have to just kind of like give me sight. They couldn't really do much about it, and then I could wait until the wall drops after to be able to actually like clear all of this. When I've cleared the back side of site, now I know I don't have to worry about turning my back to fight here, and then I can go and clear this pretty safely. So on the attack, Harbor has never been bad, and I don't think the issue with Harbor is that he's bad on the attack, it's that he's bad on the defense. And a lot of the time, well, at least currently in the meta, you need your controller to be one of the more defensive agents rather than the more offensive agents. Now, if you haven't noticed, I did this out of order because I wanted to end with the best agent for last. And in my opinion, that is Omen. So let's think about it. What are the best criteria you would look for in Omen map? And in this case, it would be long lanes where you can flash and basically swing off of to get kills, as well as a ton of one-ways. And then elevation. One of the biggest, strongest reasons is because of his one-ways that no other agent besides really Viper can do, and that's because it sits like this, and now the doors can't be opened. If they come through, they're gonna die. You also have large lanes to be able to fight for, so imagine if they're coming up this way, and I just flash like this. Now, this is a power position that allows your other defender to stay on site as the secondary contact. Not only that, he has one of the larger ranges in the game, larger than Brimstone, and not quite as large as Astra, but definitely the second most. There's a lot of walls in this game, and his flashes can help his teammates even if he's not nearby. His flash is a big hitbox as well, so the odds of you hitting someone like on a B retake is super high. On the defense side, if we also move towards C, you can throw your one-way up on this ledge right here. And now you can do the same thing with that I was saying with Viper and get these kills, making it a very hard site to push. C even has this flash line up right here that will pretty much guarantee you flash everybody that's rushing through. So Omen has way more flexibility in terms of sites he can play. Astra was best on C, Brim was best on C, but you'll see that Omen works for both. On the defense, it's already really easy to tell that he's going to be pretty strong and way more versatile than the other agents. Now we're going to talk about C. How can you deal with this stuff at C? Well, if there's an op, there's actually this TP, which they likely will not see. That's because they're going to be posted like this. You can also just not do that and just TP here and throw them off because they're going to have to worry about sound. You can flash if you really want to, push them off, smoke it if you really need to. There's tons of ways to get around this. For B, it would be a normal sort of 2 smokes. And your flash is so large, you can realistically like hit everybody on site. You can set your team up for like a flash like this, and then that way they could just run through and clear sight. As for taking A, we already mentioned the earlier opera angle. You can cross over to this side, which is called rubble, and now the same thing as the Astra smoke, they have to worry about you already of crossing, meaning that they generally have to back off and they just can't deal with this area anymore. Smokes work normally on the attacking A side. You still smoke here, you can still smoke the top. And if you really wanted to go through door or set your teammate up for door, you could just flash through and take that on your own. In terms of elevation, this A site has a lot of kind of playmaking for elevation. TPing aggressively into this heaven area, especially if you get like 2 early picks and you want to get like more aggro, you can TP into heaven and just hold it from there. Also getting up into the smoke and just holding it can give you a lot of room to play with. I forgot to mention that if you ever need to leave A on the defense, you can rotate way faster than any other agent since they would have to come up the rope. But either way for Omen works, since you can even play here now because this is no longer a bad position if you're Omen. You can just TP up if you really need to. You'll be fine. You can fight from here. Okay, now they're coming. All right, I'm gonna TP up and now I'm safe again. You'll be all set for this and they can waste their utility, but they're likely not going to want to run in here. This is also just a sick one-way that I found. They're not going to see it. You're going to have the easiest time of your life. So all in all, this is my conclusion. Omen is the best smokes for Lotus. Allows you to have the most flexibility while still covering all the bases. Viper can be played. It will have a lot of issues in terms of gaps and awkwardness in playstyle, but if you want to be a lineup Larry, I could definitely see it working with the open skyboxes. Brimstone's a solid pick if you're not a smoke player and you just want something stable that's easy to play and has lineup capabilities. Brimstone's always a solid choice. Harbor's probably the worst on this list just because of his defensive ability being way too weak and with controllers having a generally defensive playstyle. If you're going to be playing Harbor, you're going to be wanting to take aggressive fights rather than playing the normal defensive controller style. Astra can be played, but if you're going to play her on the defense, you will be on the C side of the map, But on the attack, you will have a lot more freedom with pulling back smokes to create temporary smoke shields. And with that, you'll also have a ton of global presence. If I were to rank them all, it would go Omen, Astra, Brim, Viper, Harbor. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. Make sure to follow me on Twitch or subscribe on YouTube to catch when I'm live so we can talk about this together. And with that, I'll see you in the next one. Flow out.